Okay, shall we start this interview? Okay. Hello, Lori. Can I call you Lori? Hello, Lori. I hope the weather there is as beautiful as it is here. Um, First of all, we would like to thank you um for taking the time to be our interview. In the interview activity with the theme Information Literacy is the word in the world of fine arts. Thank you so much for taking the time to reply to our email and for accepting our work.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. Next, we'd love to introduce ourselves first. In Indonesia, there's an expression that says, tak kenal maka tak sayang, which means if you don't know the person, love will never grow. So, my name is Christine Natalia Hutahayan with student number 23070907 and 5, and my colleges.
My name is Mutiara Antika. My number ID 23009007.
Nice to meet you.
Okay, my name is Firda Zahara Kusti with study number 23070908 and 3.
My name is Muhammad Bukhari with study number 230709039.
Nice to meet you.
We are from the University of North Sumatra and we're studying library and information science in the Faculty of Cultural Sciences. As we mentioned it in our email, this activity is related to our assignment in the subject of network systems and cooperation. Before we get started, could you kindly share a little bit about yourself?
Professionally, so I'm the head of the Institute of Fine Arts Library in New York University at New York University Libraries. My background is that I studied art history as a master's program at Stony Brook University, which is a state university in the state of New York in the United States. And then I went on to get my master's in library science at Queens College, the city of New York. In New York City, there are universities throughout the city, and I majored in library science. I worked at the Museum of Modern Art Library, New York Public Library's Art and Architecture Collection, School of the Visual Arts, and then it brought me here at NYU.
Okay, thank you so much, Lori. It's really nice to meet you. So before we get to our questions, I'd like to share a little bit about our findings regarding to the topic at hand. But before that, we are truly sorry for the broken English that we had because English is not our first language. So if there is any mistaken, we're truly sorry.
No need to apologize. Your English is very good.
That's very kind of you. Okay, so the literature on the information-seeking behavior of artists is mostly limited to art students, faculty, and librarians. Based on our findings, though limited, studies over the past several decades reveal common themes of information needs among studio art students. Um, These include needing information for numerous distinct purposes, such as like inspiration, visual references, technical knowledge, practical guidance in career and marketing topics, and information on trends in the local and global art communities. Based on our finding, there is also frequently a need for information on subjects unrelated to art that conceptually inform practice. So, based on our findings, like what Carter et al. On 2018 in their literature review further suggests that artists' information seeking as social behavior conducted through peer networks rather than something that can be sold through the services of a library. So the first question is, in the context of fine arts, how do you see the relationship between creativity and information literacy?
So I remember sitting in a lecture with an artist by the name of William Pope Bell, who recently passed away. Um, he was an American artist who taught at the University of Chicago, but I saw him give a lecture at Cooper Union, and he said to the art students, to be interested in art, you have to be interested in something else. And I found my experiences working in like reference departments of libraries is that as long as there's an interest, I believe it's like a point of departure, you picking up resources in a library to figure out what's your next step, whether it's drawing, dancing, or anything in the performative arts. So I do think it's a catalyst for people to find inspiration. Is there anything else that you wanted to follow up on specifically?
So, if you want to be an art student, so you have to like interested in something else. Like, can you share like the example
So,
of this thing is?
like for instance, when I was at School of Visual Arts, a lot of students already knew how to do their practice, whether it was drawing or making video games, but they needed the contents of uh, their work in like subject matters. So students would study on literature. It could be a play. It could be on a specific subject, like they wanted to know about cars or architecture in a particular area, whether it was rural or whether it was in a city. Um, I think that's one of the reasons why people come to libraries is to find out about something they don't know or they're interested in doing a deep dive. Even when I worked at New York Public Library, 42nd Street, which is their main branch, we had children come up to the art and architecture reference desk and they read let's say like Alice in Wonderland, and they wanted to know who was the illustrator of the first edition of the book. And what was nice about it, I could walk them over to archives of manuscripts or a particular collection within the building, and I could actually show it to them. But then I could bring them back to the art and architecture collection and show them artists that were inspired by that particular illustrator or works by that illustrator that they wouldn't even consider. I think it's a little bit different where I work now, given that these students are preparing themselves to be archaeologists and art historians and conservators. And they have very specific goals in their writing to, have eventually publish works for their own scholarship. But I think the principle is still there of you go into a library to find something specific for a bigger project. Like, for instance, I was talking to a graduate student and I told them to go to the Whitney to go and see a performance by Gordon Clark, and they ran into an artist who was doing a play about Gordon Clark, and they connected, and they're interested in collaborating.
Before we go to the next questions, so the new participant that joined is our lecturer. That as I mentioned it, that this activity is related to the assignment for in the subject of network systems and cooperation, and Mr. Rasyid Ridlo is the lecturer of this subject. So um he become our participant, like, so he just become our participant. Okay, sorry for interrupting. So
Thank
next
you for
question.
joining us.
Hey, thank you so much for opportunity to ask question, Lori. I really appreciate your time and the insight you've shared earlier. I like to follow up with for more question related to information literacy in the context of fine arts. Okay, next question. How is information literacy taught or integrated into fine arts education at your institution? Is embedded in the study course or taught separately taught the library or academic skill programs?
So I work in the graduate program where students are getting their master's and doctorate. We do foundational classes, so students understand the methodologies of art history. In these classes, we teach students how to search the library catalog and find a book. We teach them the different types of collections you can find in a library, whether it's at NYU libraries or if they're interested in going to other libraries in the city, whether it's museum libraries, whether it's other academic libraries or art schools. Also, a common thing that students don't understand is that they want to look for an archive, but they don't understand archives can be different depending on where you go. So we kind of give them a foundation of how to find things. And then we do deeper dives in how to look for specific art related databases. Most recently, I hired a graduate student to assess research guides that we have done in our department and give student feedback about what's helpful in those research guides so we could figure out better ways for us to get the information that students want and need. And I could give you examples of these if that's helpful. Would you like me to send you an email?
Oh, yes, we will be happy if you can give us that information. Thank you so much, Lori.
Also, as a New Yorker, I tend to talk fast, so if you need me to slow down, just let me know.
Okay, thank you so much. That's very kind of you.
And also to follow up on that, students after their classes, when myself or my colleague give library instruction, some students might come to us for specific questions related to their research papers. And that usually happens by email or research consultations. And I can send you kind of like a template of things that I might suggest to them based on their questions, if that's helpful.
Yes, if you we would be very, very thankful if you want to send that to us, because I think we can use that as a reference if we have another assignment that we have to ask some question to the librarians. That's very kind of you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, for the next question, what role does visual literacy play as a component of information literacy in fine arts education?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of your question.
Okay, sorry. What role does visual literacy play as a component of information literacy in fine arts education?
It's very important. I think it's changed over the years because images and anything related to video you can find online. But historically, through art libraries, it's changed. Like, I came from an institution that's one of the oldest libraries in North America. And the picture collection was literally it was a board with the picture of whatever it was. And they would be in alphabetical order. And if people needed images, they would come and look up a particular subject in a box and they would take that picture out and they would do research on that. And now you can use Google or any search engine to find things. And I think the biggest part about visual literacy is teaching people about copyright, so they understand what they can use and cannot use. And I think those legal aspects sometimes are difficult because everybody's coming from a different place, because copyright's different in the United States than it is in other places in the world. And when you have a mixed group of students who may even be international students in a class with US students, we have to have the grounding of this is what we're talking about in the United States. And when you're thinking about publications, you have to think about where the home institution is and what the rules are there. But most students are pretty good at finding images, I find. The bigger question is, do they have the rights to use it in their paper? Like, for instance, if it's a dissertation or if they're interested in publishing for a journal. And I'll send you research guides that we have specifically on images so you could see what kind of resources students use at NYU.
Okay, thank you for the answer, Lori. Next question here. What types of information source do fine art students typically rely on in your context? Are visual, archival, or experiential sources treated differently from traditional academic sources?
Oh, that's a good question. I think because now I'm in a university, we tend to focus on more academic. But give me a minute. I will take a look. I actually tend not to show people things that are not academic. And I think it's because of the type of librarianship I do. I think some of my colleagues downtown who work with students who are studying for like film or graphic design, they might come up with different answers like Associated Press or some other types of like photo databases. But I think for me, I probably would send them first to like JSTOR, and other digital repositories related to cultural institutions. Let me share my screen with all of you for a second so I can show you. So this is a research guide from NYU Libraries by another librarian at NYU. The way that you can get here from the website is if you go to NYU Libraries, you can go to research guides, and then if you just type in images, you'll see what comes up. I'm going to go to the second one here, finding images online. So for instance, this subject librarian, Gianna Ricci, she suggested tips on using Google Images. But if you go further down, she goes to talk about galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, and other digital repositories. And all of these are very fruitful. And I think for me, as a librarian working with graduate students specifically in art history, archaeology, and conservation, I would probably point them here because most of them are writing papers, articles, theses, and dissertations on actual objects, whether it's cultural heritage objects or fine art that they see in museums or galleries. Yeah.
Oh, is that open for public or just
Yeah, yeah,
open for
you're more than welcome, and I'll send you links so you can get to it, and I'll annotate them so you could see like the things related to art. NYU Libraries has many finding aids because we have specialists in different subjects. We have a lot in art and architecture, and these are some of the ones that have been written. If you want to find the ones that were specific to the Institute of Fine Arts, the way that you can do that is searching the site for Institute of Fine Arts Library. And this is our page. This is where I work. I'm in this building right now. And if you go down to research guides, you could see all the different research. Oh, sorry, I brought you back here. All the research guides that we've done. This is my colleague, Annalise Welty, who's also a librarian who does literacy classes here at the Institute. This is a very helpful guide about provenance research that we did together. And it's something that is very common in conversations here at the Institute. More general conversations about art history on like an introductory level happen downtown, the campus of NYU's throughout New York City. And our main location is downtown at Washington Square, where our flagship library is. But NYU Libraries also has locations in Shanghai and Abu Dhabi as well. So we have art librarians in several locations throughout the world. And in New York, we have 3 art librarians specifically. Gianna Ricci deals with students who are in undergraduate classes and students who are interested in visual culture. Annalise and myself are the librarians uptown at the location that I'm talking from the Institute of Fine Arts. And this graduate program is across the street from the Met, down the street from the Frick and the Guggenheim. So we're very close to museums. And just really quickly, back to the IFA information. If you want to know more about the services specifically at this library, we have this research guide explaining more about how to use the library. It doesn't really talk about information literacy in that way. It's more to help students figure out where to find things in the building. However, other research guides talk specifically about information literacy. And there's videos and stuff, but I'll post some for you to like just find easier than just looking through and clicking each one.
Thank you so much. We didn't know that NYU libraries were so big that it have so many um it's not only one library in New York City, it's just there's three, three libraries.
There's more.
No, there's more. So
So BOPES is its flagship. Dibner is our engineering school library, which is in another borough, which is in Brooklyn. I wish if I had the questions before, I probably would have made a map and a PowerPoint to explain all of this to you. But then we also have the Institute for the Study of the Ancient World, which is actually in walking distance from IFA. The Jack Brous Library is a professional studies library, which is in Midtown, which is actually across from New York Public Library's flagship. Then we have Abu Dhabi and Shanghai. NYU also has a large hospital and medical schools, so they have their own library. We also have law library, and it goes on and on. We also have consortium libraries, so they're not NYU, but they're affiliated where we share the same online catalog. So if you search for a book in New York University's library catalog, it will also show other libraries that are different schools that share the same catalog. It's a very big library. NYU's very big. And because our campus is the whole entire city, it's just a very different experience. But you should look at the website to get a better understanding of like the different locations. And there's an about section. So if you have any questions about like general information regarding like our mission statement, all that stuff is there. Collections. Yeah, and I'd be happy to answer any other questions you may have after this. You can just send me an email because I know the time difference is kind of rough, and I'll try to answer it that way.
okay, we will visiting the website later. Thank you so much, Lori. So up to the next question.
Okay, that's really interesting, Lori. Thank you for sharing. I have one more question on this topic. How do fine arts students understand and use information literacy when they're doing research for both their creative work and academic achievement?
That's a good question. I think I still ask myself that question because when you're giving an instruction, you're never quite sure if they're actually paying attention or understand what you're talking about. And I think because of the type of program this is, most people are scared to ask questions. And I really am a firm believer as a librarian is that there's no silly question. So I think I've tried to make students feel welcomed, and I always check in, whether it's like walking into a reading room and just saying good morning or sending an email reminding them that they can come to either myself or Annalise and ask questions. Or sometimes even when I'm going to museums, I might actually see them working. And so I just check in, and most times they won't come to me, so I come to them, and I try different avenues, whether it's like going to a vending machine and getting a snack and be like, how's your paper going? And some people are brutally honest and they're like, it's going terrible. I don't know how to find anything. And so we have a research consultation, and I'm like, I just need basic information. Did you even look for books? Did you look in any databases? Did you look in the catalog here or in any other art library? What have you done? And it kind of runs the spectrum for those who are super prepared and think they never have enough information to those who did absolutely nothing. And I think the needs for each user are different. Some people, their thesis overall is just too broad, and they realize when they do more research that a lot of people wrote about that particular topic, so they have to narrow their scope. So I think, in my personal opinion, you just have to be open for whatever you're going to get. And active listening is really important to make sure that you're getting all the information you need to answer them or help them. And it's totally okay to say, actually, I don't know. I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you for the answer. We jump to the next question. So the question is, what challenge do fine art face in accessing, interpreting, and using academic and visual resources, and how do these challenges affect their information literacy development?
Can you repeat that?
Okay. The question is, what challenge do fine art face in accessing, interpreting, and using academic and visual resources, and how do these challenges affect their information literacy development? Is it clear, Lori?
So, what challenges does information literacy have in the fine arts? Is that your question?
Yes, in
Okay.
academic specific.
Can you give me an example of what you're thinking about?
Um,
I personally think about the copyrights because so many visual resources and references that on the internet, but some of them didn't have any copyrights, like clear copyrights. They just float everywhere in the internet. So I think that's one of the challenges that fine arts face. I guess, but we want to know
Yeah,
more about the challenges.
yeah. So I'm gonna tell you a big one for me right now, AI. Anything about AI. I like for me as an art librarian, as an art historian, there is no robot that can answer every single question about an artwork. And I'm trying to like figure out what's a nice balance of these new technologies within the fields. I'm very scared of it. I'm hesitant to talk about it because there's always going to be somebody that misuses it. And I remember when I taught art history, like plagiarism was always an issue. Um, and it was very easy for me to tell when someone plagiarized because you can't fake looking at artwork. So um, I'm I'm challenged by it, but I really want people to be critical about using AI. And I want people to surprise me and use it in really cool ways. For instance, I have a graduate student right now who's a specialist in Asian art resources. And she was telling me that she was using Chat GPT for transliteration of bibliographic records. Wow, amazing. Never thought I would even have a conversation with someone about that. To me, that's a smart way to use it because it was too complicated to explain to me what these Chinese titles were in English when I gave her 3,000 titles to look at. So she figured out a way to do it fast by like pulling the metadata and getting the information I need. That's a very different thing than someone writing a paper about a work of art when I asked them to basically do a formal analysis. So yeah, I think that's the biggest challenge, like how people are going to ethically use new technologies.
Well, in Indonesian, like there's so many events that like they're making posters, like artwork, but some of them was allowed to use an AI. So I think
Yes,
that
yes.
like what do you think about it? Because so many events that they allow it the participant using an AI and just take advantage of it and take the copyrights for them. So we want to know your insights about that cases.
Yeah, so I think it's like case by case. Like I don't have I'm not pro AI, so I'm like I'm not quite sure I'm into it, but I feel like as scholars and librarians who are constantly learning, we need to be aware of it. And whether people are using it in their artistic practices or they're using it in their scholarship, I kind of want to push it in the humanities of like, how are you using it and why do we need it? Um, but you know, if you think about it in a broader way, uh, every period in history, somebody was scared of something. So like right now, this is it. Like I remember in 2000, everybody was scared about clocks changing and the world couldn't operate. And that's just silly, obviously, in 2025. So um, yeah, here we are.
Scared to an AI and robot.
Okay, thank you for the answer and sorry for the miscommunication.
No, I just needed to better understand what the question is. For me,
Okay,
it's super early in the morning and I haven't had coffee.
okay. The next question is, how do fine art students assess the authenticity and provenance of digital image and artwork found online?
Um, Well, I think because of copyright, students should make sure that they're getting images from good sources. And that's what we teach in information literacy to make sure that you're checking places of original content. So we strongly suggest not to like pull images that are within copyright from just somebody's Instagram page or um, just a random place. It's like you should be looking for the image from its original source if possible, or scanning it from a book and citing it properly.
Thank you for answer my question. Um, okay, Firda, can you next?
Um, okay, Lori. Before I jump into specific question, I just wanted to say that your approach to art library is super interesting. Its field then blends creativity, technology, and ethics. Something that really relevant for us as library and information science students. So, okay, that's my question. How do you as librarian or information professional support students in navigating copyright, image art, and ethical issue when creating or remix visual content?
So the question is, how do I teach other librarians how to do this? Is that your question?
Yes.
So, in the US, like really school is where we're assuming all of these things are learned. I think when you're a professional in the field, it's assumed that you know this because you learned it in school. So even though sometimes, school can be tiring, I think you all should pay attention in school and make sure you're getting everything that you need. Um, and I think what's nice about librarianship is that we're always open to professional development and learning skills from our colleagues. And I think that's what's made me the librarian I am today, is just from the community that helped me and support me when I was in school and when I was a professional. Um, so I think if you're not strong in a topic, because you might have learned about this in school, but you didn't have the practice to do it, there is definitely going to be a librarian who tells you how to do it in the field. So if you don't learn it in school, don't think of it as like, I'm never going to know anything about this. You just have to find the right colleague to learn it from. But cataloging, please take those classes because I still don't know how to do cutters and call numbers because I missed that one class in school. And every time I see a cutter, I'm like, I don't know.
Well, that's
So,
very confusing for us too, like the call numbers. There's so many subjects in the word, and we have to numbering it one by one, and it's so confusing, but we're trying to learn anyways.
yeah. But regarding um, images and ethics and copyright, like right now, I feel like it's nice that there's opportunities virtually because I didn't have that when I was in school. And you can really take classes anywhere in the world and learn what you need to learn. So you can take a class for 45 minutes or for 4 weeks asynchronously or, in real time. So I think there's a lot of opportunities.
Thank you, Lori. Okay, next question. How do you envision the future role of art librarians in an ever-evolving information landscape?
Ooh, that's a hard question. Um, the future of it. I think for me, the most important part in a specialized library is to make sure that the collections stay open. I think, especially in the US, where we're dealing with so much censorship by government right now, um, it's important to make sure that we do as much outreach as possible and get not only art history students and archaeology students and conservation students engaged, but um, students from other professions, whether it's the humanities, social science, engaged as well. So I would say outreach.
Thank you, Lori.
Thank you.
Okay, so the last question is what is the impact of misinformation and visual manipulation on the artistic decision making? Because we all know that so many misinformation and visual manipulation in this modern world, modern world that separated, and I think that makes a big impact, especially for the fine art students. But we want to know what you think about it as a librarian of an art library, I guess.
Um, I find it interesting that you think it's a problem, and I want to kind of know why.
Well, for us, like, because information literacy is basically like finding an information that related to the to our needs, and I think misinformation and some of visual manipulation in this context in the fine arts, I think that could be a big problem, because that means that the information that we're searching for is not relevant to what we need. So I think that's kind of giving a bad impact. But if you have an insight about, like, if you think that things is giving a good impact to the student, like, we just want to know that what your opinion
Yeah,
about that.
I just wanted to hear your point of view first. So first off, I'm not an artist, so I can't speak to that, but as librarians, we should give information in whatever form we have. It's not our responsibility to judge what people use it for. When you're thinking about artistic practices, maybe it is their artistic practice to give misinformation. Maybe they're challenging it. And I think we need to be open to reasons why people have interpretations. I think, generally speaking, because of what's happening in the world, we're all very hesitant. However, when it comes to artistic practices, it could mean something totally different.
Oh, so all people have a different interpretation
Yeah, but as a
about some
creative
art.
practice,
Uh,
yeah, as a creative practice, maybe that was the point.
oh, okay. Okay, we are really understand. So our questions is done and our interview is over. Is so what we have now is, like, it's clear that finding and understanding information is really important in the fine arts world. Like, it helps us understand if a piece of art is real or not. And we want to thank Mrs. Lori again for taking the time to chat with us and answers all our questions, even with our broken English. And we hope that the Institute of Fine Arts Library of NYU University will keep growing and becoming a place where students can find the information they need.
Yes. Thank you so much for speaking with me. It was a pleasure meeting you all. And I hope you have a good night and a good weekend. And please keep in touch if you have any questions.
Okay, will do. And
Okay.
before we finish up, as I mentioned it in the email before, we have a collaboration document that needs to be signed as evidence of the activity we have carried out. And we would be really happy if Lori would cooperate with us and sign the document. And because this document is also part of our assignment, like, is it okay if we give you the
Yeah,
document?
for sure. Yes, I'll do it.
Okay, you will be sure to send it to your email right away.
I have a question
Um,
for all of you.
oh, okay.
So can you tell me a little bit more about your program? Are you undergraduate students or graduate students?
We are undergraduate student of library information at University North Sumatra, and we have a subject that um wait network system and cooperation. Like, honestly, this project or this assignment is, we have to have a collaboration with the um people outside Indonesia. So it's all up to us, like what we want to do, like interview or even sharing information. Like what we choose is interview about fine arts because we are really interested in art and in information literacy because I think like general we all think that we all talk the same about information literacy that it is really important to know, like to have an knowledge about that because in this modern world, like there's so many um fake information. So I think that will get help us understand. And because we don't learn about art, we learn about library, of course. So I think this is a new knowledge to us and a new experience with us to talk with someone that um like you, like English was not our first language. Like we talk in Indonesian, so talk to you with English is really helpful for us and giving us more knowledge about English, your culture, New York, and of course NYU Fine Arts Library. I think that's
What year are you all in school?
we are at 4 semester.
4 semesters.
Yes.
So, um, is do you go by years in your school? Like, do you go in undergrad for 4 years or 3 years?
Well, basically we have like 8 semesters, so basically it's like 4 years.
Okay, so you're halfway through.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And is there any questions for us?
I'm trying to think. So, are you going to graduate school after this, or are you going to go into the profession, or are any of you working in libraries now?
No, we're going to into the profession because we're still undergraduate and we're not working in any libraries right now.
It's, some people work in libraries and they're not librarians, but I know when I was in school, there wasn't undergraduate programs in
Yeah.
library science, and in the US, that's fairly new. So we only could do that in graduate school. I'm a part of a professional organization called the Art Library Society of North America, and we travel to different libraries throughout the world. And I remember when I went to Finland, they commented on how young we looked because librarians don't finish their professional schooling until they're much older. And it's just interesting how we're all very similar no matter where we are in the world, but there are like differences depending on what area of the world we're in. Um, but I think it's great that you're going to school for library science and you know what you want to do. And I look forward to hearing more about your journeys. So thank you so much. And have a good night.
Thank you so much, and thank you so much for the knowledge that and insight from this discussion. And lastly, we would like to take some documentation.
Everybody ready?
Okay. Everybody steady. Okay. In 3, 2, 1, say cheese. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lori.
We hope
Bye.
your day is always filled with joy and kindness. It's really great to know
Thank
you,
you.
Lori. And once again, thank you so much for all your kindness. And see you on another change.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you. Good night.